long time. But is it World War II with the tanks rolling in? No, I don't think so. But there's going to be a lot of people suffering. I've been arguing that sanctions are an act of war. And has Iran suffered from sanctions? Yes, but it built up a backbone for them. It didn't undermine their government. So sanctions are an act of war, and we participated in it all the time. And I think that's where it starts. It's interventionism is immoral and unconstitutional, and it is a war of sorts. But I don't see it as a war like World War II.
Dr. Ron Paul, as usual, thanks, sir, for taking time to share your perspective on this with us today. Let's do this. I want to go around the panel real quick and ask you a question. How many people here, raise your hand, if you believe that the United States was about to be attacked, and because of that imminent attack, we had to take this guy out? Because that's what our government is saying. Raise your hand. Nobody. Scott, you don't believe that either, I imagine, right? Not at all. Second question. How many people here believe that this guy was a dangerous terrorist? That he was a dangerous terrorist? Raise your hand. A dangerous terrorist, because that's the other thing that we're being told. No? Scott, was he a dangerous terrorist?
No, he was an effective combatant.
So the question then is, as all of us watch the media today, I've been watching Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and, reading some of the New York Times. That's the prevailing story that's being told to the American people. How troubled should we be by that?
Extremely troubled, because it's like you're supposed to trust the media, and this is just like they're exaggerating the truth. It's not even a truth, essentially. They're creating this fear amongst us, and they're creating it so that we fear the Middle East. And it's like this entire thing that we shouldn't even believe in.
It's contextual, isn't it?
It is contextual. And the thing is, this is something that we should be afraid of, because the United States government has profited from war every single time they've started a war. The stock market has gone on a tremendous rally every single time there has been a war in previous history.
Good point. Go ahead.
I've noticed on all these channels, one of the things they're putting on Soleimani's account is saying he was propping up the Assad regime in Syria. He's got the blood of hundreds of thousands of people on his hands. By that reckoning, and the fact that he's a high state official in a government that we're not at war with, we've crossed a Rubicon, not only in Tehran, but in Moscow, Beijing, Pyongyang, Caracas. Do they all have to sit there and say to themselves, all right, do the Americans now feel entitled to kill anybody in our government because of what disagreements over Syria or whatever else?
Michelle.
Well, I think the main thing we need to focus on is something that Max touched on, which is why is this such a strategically bad move? Because he was so popular. Why was he so popular? Because of his key role in fighting against ISIS. We have to understand that in these Iranian cities, from Kerman to Tabriz, the streets are literally filled right now with people mourning the death of this general. And we have protests in cities elsewhere, like in Islamabad or in Kashmir, where they're actually burning American flags because this man was a chief general in the fight against ISIS. So to Iranian people, to people worldwide, he was a national hero. He achieved sort of a celebrity status because of his role against ISIS. And not only did he survive many assassination attempts, by Western governments, Arab governments, Israeli governments, making him famous. Sure.
Let's suppose he was a bad guy. Let's suppose he was. There are bad guys all over the world, by the way. There's a lot of people who are bad guys. Yeah. Even if he was a bad guy, as we say other people are in places like Venezuela and Uruguay and wherever, right?
That guy only depends on which side you're on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Does that give us the right to assassinate?
Let's consider that Qasem Soleimani and Abu Mahdi al-Mohandes worked hand in glove with the United States, first against the Taliban, a mutual enemy, and then against ISIS, losing something like 30,000 men, common Shia people who went and followed the fatwa of Ayatollah Sistani to fight and defeat this existential threat to their existence in Mosul. They worked with the United States. This is a person who commanded people who in many ways have protected the national security of the United States against ISIS, and the U.S. continues to support ISIS alongside its Israeli and Gulf allies. A perfect example of that is where was Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS, killed in Idlib, which Donald Trump is protecting from Syria and Russia right now.
Here's a question a lot of people are wondering about too. They've been reaching out to us today. Bill Clinton in, what was that, 98, right? The wag the dog when he attacked the Balkans. In the middle of his impeachment. Some people are wondering if the same thing is going on now with Donald Trump, if he needs this politically. Scott, let me have you tackle that one first.
I don't believe so. I don't think that I don't think impeachment has anything to do with what transpired. The issues with Iran predate the articles of impeachment. As John Bolton indicated, the decision to take out Qasem Soleimani was made, a while back. They just picked this moment in time to pull the trigger because he was a target of opportunity. This is about bad policy, not about a president reacting to pressures of impeachment.
We have to
the president knows he's not going to be removed from the Senate.
We have to ask the question before we end this show of what we think might happen next. What will Tehran's response be? Anybody want to tackle that? What do we think? Is it going to be blatant or is it going to be more opaque?
The key word is going to be asymmetrical. It'll be something that is not a direct response to what we did, and it'll be harder to pin on them. And meanwhile, picking up on that question, I think Trump is now, I think this is the final end of his having any real agency as the head of this government. He is now completely controlled by the
subjugated to
the deep
guys.
state, the neocons, the Borg, whatever you want to call it.
Go ahead, Max.
Qasem Soleimani cut his teeth in the Iran-Iraq war. He learned the lessons. He and now his successors, and he's been planning for his martyrdom and succession.
Right.
They do not want a conventional conflict like that. They understand these lessons. And again, as Scott said, it could take some time. There's going to be a lot of strategic patience.
What a great panel. Thanks so much to you, Max, to Scott Ritter, Christy I, Michelle, Jim Jatras. Thank you all.